together, growing in faith, changing communities.
Together, growing in faith, changing communities. My dear brothers and sisters, I would like us to reflect on Exodus chapter 22 from verse 20 to verse 16, rather from verse 20 to verse 26. If you were to read Exodus 22 from verse 20, the Lord is giving us what we know as the social rules. But it also gives us, if you read attentively to the text, it gives us an indication that the Israelites were no longer living together in isolation. That there were amongst them strangers, that there were amongst them people who were not necessarily Jews or Israelites. And so the Lord is challenging and talking to the Israelites. That's the first impression. The second impression is that the mere fact that the Lord is reprimanding the Israelites, it means the relationship is not going well. Something has gone wrong. And the Lord, in using and challenging the Israelites, he says to them, you ought to be good to the strangers, to the aliens, because you yourself were once a stranger in Egypt. That's what I want to talk about. Mother Teresa argues, and she is quoted to have said, not everybody is hungry for a piece of bread, but what a number of people are hungry for love, for acceptance, for knowledge, and for appreciation. And in looking into our own lives, am I able to love and to accept someone else? Am I able to accept you even though you think differently to me? Are we able to have a crucial conversation? Are we able to sit around the table and talk about things that really matter, without trying to destroy each other, but at the same time without trying to buy face? To call a spade, and to try and have these conversations that are not necessarily comfortable, but that are necessary for our growth. Let's bring this a little bit closer to home. In your own household, in your own family, are we able to accept each other the way you are? To accept that this is how so-and-so thinks, this is how so-and-so prefers things, this is how she behaves. Am I able to accept you and to love you and to cherish you without wanting you to think like me? Am I able to celebrate you as a unique person? Or do I want you to think like me and behave like me? I have seen so many families whose hatred for each other is seen even at church. That they will come to the same church, same mass, but they will never be able to speak to each other. Then if someone is going through a difficulty, someone else who is the member of the family will actually take pride in spreading that. Instead of going out and helping, they will go out and spread a rumor, whether it's true or not true. I have seen families literally destroying each other, tearing each other apart. I've recently said something to myself. Success is not determined by the finish line, but success is determined by how I run the race. And the argument behind this theory of mine is that I can finish the race and still not be successful, because I can finish the race and be bitter and be angry. But while I'm running the race, it is the attitude that I have that determines whether I have failed or I've already succeeded. There are many people who begin the corporate marathon. They never really finish it, but it doesn't mean they are not successful. The mere fact that you were able to finish 1 kilometer, you've achieved far more than someone who remained in bed sleeping. The mere fact that you can get up and try something, you've been successful than the person who was afraid of failure. There are principles that I think the Lord is inviting us to look into in our own lives. Am I able to forgive? Am I able to accept? My dear brothers and sisters, there is a story that I often tell. It is a young man who has anger issues. And his father is a little bit frustrated now. He doesn't know what to say and how to deal with him. And his father says, I don't know what else to do. And the young man comes to his senses. And one day he says, Daddy, I want to change. I want to be better. And so they struck a deal. They had a house which was fenced with white picket fence, and he gave him a bag of nails and a hammer. And he says to him, son, every time you get angry, take a piece of nail, nail it on the wall. He gave him a bag and he left. When he came back later on, the son says, Daddy, I used about 95 pieces of nails. He was an angry man. And days went by, weeks went by, months went by. And eventually, every time the father comes and will give him the list, from 95 he came to 75, to 35, and one day out of the blue, he was the first one to go at the gate and welcomed his father with excitement. And his father looks at him and is like, what's wrong? Why are you so excited today? And he says, Daddy, here is the bag, sealed. I have not used even one nail. He was happy with himself. And he was not angry. And so the father said, thank you, son. And would you then do me a favor? Go and take out and pluck out all the other nails from the wall. And excitingly, he went and was singing and he was plucking them all out. And he came and he gave him a bucket full of nails. Daddy, here are your nails. I'm good. And the father said, thank you, son. Come with me now. Let's go and see and inspect the wall. And as they saw the wall, it was full of holes. And the father said to him, every time you were angry and you said something bad to a person, you put a nail on that person. And every time you said you're sorry, you remove the nail, but the hole is still there. How many people in our families are hurting because of our words? How many people in our families are depressed because of our words? They don't beast, but we belittle them. We tell them that they're stupid. We tell them that they'll never make it. We tell them that you are as useless as your father. We tell them that you are nothing. You are an alcoholic like your mother. How many of our children are suffering today because of my relationship with their mother? Just because I hate their mother? How many of our children today, we hate them because you remind me of your father? You behave exactly like that father of yours. My dear brothers and sisters, I always say this to myself: you can give me a slap. It will be painful, but it will disappear. But the words that you say, they have a way of staying a little bit longer than necessary. Some of us today may be old and adults, but we've never forgotten what was said to us as children. And so the Lord is asking us, how do we deal with each other? Someone does something to you and they come back, they say sorry. And the moral of the story that I gave you, sometimes sorry is a little bit too late. So I cannot continually hurt you, harm you, belittle you, and every time I say I'm sorry. I cannot put your life in danger, and every time I blame it on alcohol. I cannot do that. I need to do the right thing for myself. As parents, we have a responsibility to our children. I cannot put my child's life at risk, at stake for my own happiness. I cannot risk the safety of my children. My dear brothers and sisters, in the gospel there is a basic line. The Pharisees have failed. The Sadducees are getting a go at Jesus. The Pharisees have been silenced. And the Sadducees says, let's go and take a swipe at Jesus. Let's go and try it. There's one principle I need to ask myself. Why do I do that which I do? Why am I not talking to you? You know when we grew up during the times of the struggle. During the times of the struggle, there was a motto that says an injury to one is an injury to all. And growing up in Omashu, in the township, that was instilled and drilled into our minds. That's an injury to one is an injury to all. And so there was a mob mentality. But you also find that among friends, that your friend is my friend, your enemy is my enemy. Why? Why is my relationship with you based on your relationship with him? I'm not going to talk to you. I don't want you. But you have done absolutely nothing wrong to me. You just did not have a good relationship with her. She just happened to be my friend. But why am I fighting her battles? Why am I fighting you? You didn't do anything wrong. This disturbs me when the adults are having a quarrel, a misunderstanding, a fight, and children chip in. We now live in a culture where children will say, let's have a meeting. We now live in a culture where children call their parents to account. And they sit them down. And you wonder in this relationship, who is the parent, who is the child? Well, sometimes the parents are no longer parents because they behave like, I don't know. How do you get drunk in front of your children that you forget your own name? How do you embarrass your children, your family, and do stupid things? Having been silenced, they want to go and take a swat at Jesus. And they ask Jesus, which is the greatest commandment? Which is the greatest law? And there are two principles there for me. You don't have to answer all the questions posed to you. My dear people, sometimes you need to learn to walk away. Just walk away. There's nothing as beautiful than ignoring certain things. Just ignore it. You don't have to attend every argument you are invited to. Choose your battles wisely. The last point. Jesus says to them, you will love the Lord your God with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your being. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Do I love God? How do I love God? And for me it's important. Because if I love God, I will do all that I can for the greater glory of God. I'm not doing so that you can say thank you. I'm not doing so that I can be appreciated. I'm not doing so that people can see. No, I'm doing it for God. And only for God. So my love for God pushes me to want to do good. That's what loving God means. What will God do in this situation? What does it demand of us? Love of neighbor. Who's your neighbor? You know, I grew up in a culture where if I did something wrong on the road, on the streets, and adults didn't walk past me, oh boy, he or she gave it to me. So when I did wrong, I would be beaten up, and I would be crying going back home. But by the time I get home, I will make sure that I'm no longer crying, because if I tell them that so and so beat me, before they ask me what happened, they will give me a good idea. How are you raising your children? You know, when these are complaining, how much 2,000, how much 2,000, how much 2,000. But how much 2,000 is a low. A 16-year-old gave birth. A 16-year-old gave birth. In our days, it is now okay for Umwana, who is in grade 8, grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, to have this and go to school, wearing a school uniform, and nobody frowns at it. Our children get pregnant, heavily pregnant, they go to school, and we are the first one to say they have a right to education. look at the parents. How am I parenting? Quite a number of parents are very good at dishing out money. That's not parenting. Giving freebies, that's not parenting. I don't know what that is. That's blackmailing your children. You know, there are a lot of things that we do for our children. And we think we're doing them because we love them. It's like, you know, when a baby cries, what do? Put something in the mouth so that they stop crying. So our children, when they cry, we give them sweets. When they cry, we give them dummies. When they cry. And when they grow older, they have that mentality. And they are spoiled, little children. And as they grow older, we have an adult who behaves like a spoiled child. We have a married man who behaves like a spoiled child. We have a married mother, wife who behaves like a spoiled child. What do? They throw tantrums. But where did it go wrong in our parenting?